The film was just a quality experience from start to finish. Like watching it, even though it has like slightly dated animation, you can tell why Mobile Suit Gundam is regarded as a classic. It doesn't feel like any other mecha series from its time.
Man, it's a lot of pimp hand being handed out here all throughout this movie. And I want to call it Mobile Suit Pimp Hand because they were slapping people left and right for every single little tiny thing that could be wrong.
Anything where Bright Noah is in, he's smacking somebody.
Hey, Bright might have a future in the power slap circuit, man.
I swear, bro, he might.
Yo, what's poppin', everybody? It's the No Level Cap Podcast. We back once again with the crew, talking about all the anime, all the gaming, all the nerd culture, none of the bullshit. Let me introduce my incredible co-host. We've got the collector of collectors, the master of Twitch, Will Coleman. What's going on, Will?
I am doing fine today, my brother. Speaking of trying to be the master of Twitch, it's getting a little tough out here to get on Twitch because I see people is hacking through extensions and shit on Twitch. So I'm like, I might have to hold off on this streaming shit till they figure something out.
Hold on, what's happening now?
Some random extensions like the shit you can add to kind of liven up your live stream, like the little pets, the sound effects and whatnot. You can get through channel points and whatnot. Apparently, somebody is out here just busting these things down and hacking people's accounts with no warning to the people who got 2FA. So just randomly, they stuff just get hacked. And I'm just like, what is happening here?
Bro, two-factor authentication don't work. I don't know. Like I ain't got no more passwords in me. And if texting my phone don't get the job done, damn it, I just don't know what to do no more. They're gonna have to figure it out.
They are.
Next up, we got the Black Daredevil of the secret weapon, a No Level Cap, Terrence Flowers. What's going on, Terrence?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Week has been good. I guess in terms of new anime that I've been watching, there's one that I highly recommend that I feel like not enough people are talking about, or at least I haven't heard as much about it as I think I should be hearing. And that's My Happy Marriage, and it's a new shoujo, but it's really good. Like, and it's not just one of those shoujos where it's like, oh, you know, it's about the girl who's falling in love with the guy and everything. And I'm sure when most dudes hear, "Oh, My Happy Marriage," why the hell would I want to watch a show called that? There's more to it than that. There's actually like powers that they have in the show. There's like family, clan, political stuff going on in terms of like one family trying to overtake another family and doing stuff behind the scenes, and it's very interesting. I have thoroughly been enjoying the show, and yeah, if that sounds interesting to anybody, just that little short synopsis, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's currently airing. It's on Netflix. Yeah, it's not on Crunchyroll. It's on Netflix. But yeah, I've been enjoying it. It's quite good.
What's up? What's going on, Rakeem?
Was that the anime we watched during our anime list going through it that had like the marriage thing going on, that all of a sudden hands was thrown and we got interested in it?
I'm sure maybe that was it.
Yeah, this is ringing a bell.
Yeah, probably.
Thanks for recommending it. It's time to come back to that. Yeah.
Somehow hands was the thing that like, oh yeah, you know, they was fighting in that bitch. Yeah. I like it. I mean, we nothing if not honest around here. Next up, we got the living cartoon and the man with the golden voice, Rakeem Beck. What's poppin', Rakeem?
Hey, man, nothing too much. It's been kind of a weird week for me. Started off my Labor Day with a flat tire and going to the mechanic shop, hoping to get my tire replaced. Then they found some other issues, so I needed a part. And then I call at the end of the week on Friday to see if they have received the part, and they never ordered the part in the first place. And then they came to me and said, oh, we need a verification, even though I gave them the verification already. So that's how my week started. So it was already iffy. And I've kind of been congested since yesterday, and it's been kind of weird. But other than that, it's been okay. I've been getting back into Hearthstone the last few days. It's been my little wake up in the morning, play, go to sleep at night, play game. It's been fun. It's been fun getting back into Hearthstone. I hadn't been consistently playing for a while, but they have a lot of incentives. Like they give you a free deck. They have a lot more rewards than they used to back in the day. So it's actually been easy for me to jump back in and just play a deck and just try it and see how I like it. And I've been enjoying it thoroughly. So hopefully, if I don't get through all these Zoobots, as Devin knows, we talked about earlier this week, there's a lot of bots in that game that need to fix out. But other than that, I've been enjoying myself.
Hey, man, hats off to you for being able to get back into a card game because I can't do it. I've tried. Like I got in the shadow. I tried to get back in the Shadowverse, and I played the story mode for a while to try to get like, okay, I'm gonna get some gold, buy some packs and all that shit. Hopped in unranked and got the shit smacked out of me multiple times, and I was like, man, I just don't like losing that much. Like I know if I sat there and lost, maybe 10, 12 times, gradually I'd start to figure out like, okay, the deck works like this. I'm supposed to do that. Fuck all that. I just couldn't take just getting smacked over and over again. I wasn't even in ranked, but it got to be too much after a while. I'm like, hey man, fuck all this. I'm trying to get into Yu-Gi-Oh again, but like I know it's bad when they start giving support to decks that I liked, and I'm still like, man, they gave support to Black Wings. I'm OG Black Wing player. They gave support to Tech Genius. I love Tech Genius. I'm still kind of like, whatever. I don't know what it would take. Maybe Insector support that was actually good, so I could be like Kamen Rider and shit. But other than that, like I just can't see it. Like I don't know. Like card games after a while become so complex. It feel like playing a fighting game, just without the speed of it.
A little bit.
Like the complexity of the combos and shit. Like it's always funny to me when I'm in like a Twitch thread or some shit, and people be like, "Oh yeah, you should take up Yu-Gi-Oh!" And I'm like, "No, you don't need to take up Yu-Gi-Oh! This is the last game you need to play." Like I tell you what, you don't even have to watch like a tournament game. Just watch a regular game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And you'll be like, "No, I don't need this. I don't need this in my life." All right, we also got One Punch Man and the Master Combos, Devin Butts. What's going on, Devin?
I'm good, man. It's been a kind of a long week and a half of work for me. I think I've been at work for like 9 days straight, and it's been kind of kicking my butt, back hurting, but I still managed to find time. Managed to find time. Yeah, they beat me down, man. But nonetheless, I actually have a silver lining, man. I beat Sea of Stars, an amazing game. 10 out of 10.
Sea of Stars, bro.
It take about like 30 hours to beat it.
God damn, this man wasted no time. That game only been out like what, a week and a half?
Yeah.
Does it have multiple endings?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think the one I got is, I'm not sure. I think it's a good ending because I'm just thinking about what happened, but it's not the true ending, I don't think. But yeah, I was blown away by that game. I think you started playing it, right, Will? I know Rakeem was playing it.
Yeah, I hadn't had time because this week here kind of really got to me, so I didn't have any time to like reach at that game and be like, all right, let's get started. So it's gonna have to be this Sunday. It's gonna be this Sunday. I'll start.
Yeah, please. I implore anybody, if you're an RPG fan, man, just try it out. It's like, I was blown away. Like I said, 10 out of 10 after what I experienced, and like just the art direction, the game it's amazing. But that's really what I've been on. I played a little bit of Ever Crisis, kind of got into that. Just want to check it out. Might play some more of that. But yeah, man, Sea of Stars is mainly what I've been on.
Okay. Lastly, I'm Sage Ashford, the man who won't shut up. If you didn't know, No Level Cap goes live every Monday morning. We're on YouTube for video fans, but if you prefer the audio version, we're live on Spotify as well. We've also started game streaming. Every Sunday night around 10 p.m. Central, you'll find me, Rakeem, Devin playing video games together. Lately, it's been the narrative-based game As Dusk Falls, the game that came out from Xbox, I believe, last year. Very good game. We've had a lot of fun streaming it, a lot of fun making fun of the opening song. But this upcoming week, we'll be getting into a little bit of Bethesda's Starfield. So swing by, have a good time with us, and, hang out. Just say hi. What's up? Now I want to go ahead and get into this week's topic. We've been talking about all these other games and anime and all that, but we got a topic of the show. Let's go ahead and get into it. I've been trying to get us to watch this for a while. Like after we saw Kukuru's Doan's Island, I was like, all right, man, we got to go ahead and check this out. I wanted to get us into the original OG Gundam. So we checked out Mobile Suit Gundam, the 1981 movie Mobile Suit Gundam. A classic. It's a compilation film for those who don't know, based on they pull parts of the original series and basically condense it down into a single movie or 3 movies. And this is where Gundam kind of blew up, because like originally you had the 43 episode series. It did okay, nothing special, but then they decided to make a film out of it, and that's when it turned into like this sensation, this massive monstrous franchise for Japan. And this is where it all started. And so I just wanted to know, like, what did y'all think of it? I gotta ask, Terrence, how did you like the movie, man?
Oh shit, you got to have me be the first one, huh?
You're the only one, like, everybody else cracking jokes, so I was like, all right, I don't know what Terrence think. I gotta find out.
Okay. I don't know if I'm gonna set the tone correctly or not set it correctly, but we'll see. So I'll say this, that I'll get the good out of the way and then get into whatever criticisms I have with it. I'll say that the second half of the movie, it really picks up in terms of how we get deeper into the characters and like their motivations, and you have like little betrayal stuff going behind the scenes with Char, you know, him with the twinkle in it. Oh man, it was multiple times where it just like ding. I'm like, okay. Yes, we know you got something cooking. I guess we'll wait to see what happens. I mean, you have the stuff going on with Amuro and the crew as they're dealing with this whole situation of pretty much just most of them being like regular civilians and just being thrust into this war and them kind of dealing with the repercussions of that. You have Bright just trying to figure out how to be an effective leader. It's like he kind of was just pushed into this role and he's trying his best to hold everything together. And in my opinion, like, he does a really good job in terms of yeah, I mean, I guess he does a good job for that too, in terms of just, there was a lot of slaps in this movie. That's something I will get to.
Wasn't it though?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll definitely get to that. Yeah, and then you have like the Zeon where they're really starting to step it up. I will admit, in the beginning of this movie, it just felt like all the Zeon soldiers, their mobile suits were just made out of plastic, and they got hit once. It's like, all right, it's game over. Whereas like the Gundam and what's the main ship called?
White Base.
White Base, that's
White
what
Base,
it is.
yeah.
Yeah, they kept calling it something else.
The Trojan horse.
Trojan horse.
Yeah, the Trojan horse. That's what it was. Yeah. So I was trying to think, what's the actual name? Yeah, White Base. It's like White Base and the Gundam. They just get hit and do a pew pew pew, and it just bounce right off. Whereas like the Zeon's stuff was just explode, just like the moment you touch it. But yeah, in the second half, things got at least a little bit more difficult for the Federation. Of course, you have like the iconic sounds. Like, this is where it all starts. Like you said, Sage, you have like sound effects that are still used to this day, or at least like they've been obviously refined. But this is where it all begins. This is where a lot of those tropes, like the Gundam tropes and even like mecha tropes that we see today, this is where they all came from. So, you know, you have to pay it respects in that regard. Like, this is definitely was a groundbreaking like show, movie, you know, however you view it. That being said, I will say that because this is a compilation film, it really shows with like the pacing in the first half. It kind of just moves along at like a little slow pace, at least too slow for me. And it's not like a traditional movie where, you know, with the movie during its runtime, it kind of has its arcs where it's like go ups and down and everything. Whereas this, it definitely feels like you're watching a TV show that's been condensed, just because everything is just kind of like going straight. And of course, in like the second half, like I said, it gets better. But then the first half, like, we're being introduced to all the characters. You're getting into like the political drama. It just feels like stuff is kind of moving at a crawl. I mean, at its core, that's what Gundam is. Gundam is about political drama. I mean, people see the mechs and it's like, ooh, shiny mech. That's what it's all about. It's like, no, I mean, it's about the politics. All Gundam has always been that way. I just feel like this is, because this is the first attempt at it, is like, obviously they haven't refined it. So it doesn't quite have the snappiness that maybe some of the later series have. It's like this one, they kind of, they get into it, but not maybe at a pace that I would have liked. So I guess I would have liked it to be a little bit faster, but at the same time, like I said, this is the first one, so there was no like set formula just yet. I mean, we getting into Amuro. This is definitely a product of his time in terms of the way that the story is being told with him, because
Definitely that.
You wouldn't handle a character like this that kind of way now, in terms of like, they're pretty much just slapping him and just telling him to man up throughout the entire film. And it's like, bruh, first off, my man just grabbed a manual, read it for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden he's like the master of the Gundam in comparison to everybody else. And then second off, it's like you all just keep telling him to get inside the Gundam when it's obviously affecting him mentally. Like, he's having PTSD. He can't sleep. and you all are just telling him is like, you need to get out there because if you don't, then people are going to die. And it's like, while that is true, it's like a nicer way that you could go about it, or at least a way that you could talk about it to a child. I mean, he is like, what, 14, 15, whatever?
He's 15.
Yeah, he's like 15. So it's like you
This
could
the
go
only way I
about it
need
in
to talk
a better
to you.
way. Yeah, a lot of it's just, and it's not even just him. It's like there's multiple characters in this show. Just like, I remember the daughter of yeah, where she just like, oh, it's like, father, I want to marry Garma. It's like,
I'm in control of my own life.
No, you ain't.
no, you ain't. It's just like, bro, come on now. What are we doing here? Yeah.
Violence
Violence against
Yes.
children, violence against women, I guess. But
against everybody, apparently.
yeah, violence against
Everybody
I guess
can.
everybody can get their hands. But yeah,
Rated T
that's
for
those are
everyone.
my main criticisms. Is just the pacing of it, and like I said, it's because it's a compilation film. It's not going to be structured in the way a traditional film would be. So I kind of have to be a little lenient in that regard. And also, like I said, it's a product of its time in terms of the way that it handles like PTSD and like the effects that war would have on a child. And I mean, of course, they could address some of that later on and maybe like the other two movies. But as just this film right now, it's like, no, they don't.
Fuck no.
I just caught him in the corner of my eye, like.
I kind of figured that wasn't the case, but I was hopeful. But yeah, I think this film is a good start, but it's fine for being the first film. I'll put it that way. And I know we have another question. We go into like the other films, but I think as it is right now, in terms of a score, I think if I were to like, I mean, giving it all due respect in terms of like it being the first and it paving the way for like the mecha genre and all Gundams after it, I would give it like a very solid 7. But if I were to give like my honest opinion, it'd be like a solid 6, just because there's some things that I feel like could be better, but it's just one of those things where that's just a product of its time and it being the first one. There's a lot of things in this that are refined in later Gundam series. So just because it's not perfect here doesn't mean it doesn't get better later on. But that's just my take on the movie.
Okay. I respect it. I'm hoping to get kind of a variety of opinions. We've already got one opinion, and I'm gonna give mine, and it's gonna be in a little bit of a different direction. Now, preface this by saying I'm Gundam hardcore. I've been a Gundam fan for like decades now. I know all the Gundam memes. I've watched all the I haven't watched every Gundam, but I've watched enough of them over the years. So I'm kind of inundated to some of the way that Gundam communicates stuff. For me, this movie, it was a 9 out of 10. The film was just a quality experience from start to finish. Like watching it, even though it has like slightly dated animation, you can tell why Mobile Suit Gundam is regarded as a classic. It doesn't feel like any other mecha series from its time. It's this gritty war drama. There's a lot of plot armor early on, but it's still got, hella awards, like people getting got left and right. And Amuro's just such a compelling protagonist. You feel for him as he learns how to deal with the horrors of war. People make a lot out of Shinji Ikari from Neon Genesis Evangelion, and they're like, this is what happens if you tell a boy to pilot a giant robot. But in reality, the complaint was that Shinji, even though everyone around him is in danger, even though his own life is in danger, he just is like, oh, I don't want to do it. It's like, bro, you about to die. So like you can either, and like to a point, I get it, but then I'm also like, hey man, at a certain point, when you realize like I'm about to die, you're gonna get in a robot and you just don't stop complaining. And Amuro feels like a more realistic version of that. Yeah. He's this character that's horrified by what he's being asked to do. Every time he jumps into the Gundam, he's like a little more unhinged. There's this slow transition, and this isn't, it's a spoiler slightly for the next movie, but like there's this slow transition from him not really wanting to be anywhere near the Gundam to like defining his own self-worth through the Gundam. But it's all in the name of surviving and helping those around him survive. He's like doing the job even though it's tearing him apart. And nobody, like Terrence said it, nobody cares to help him. It's either violence or people threatening his masculinity or somebody going, look, it looked like he got burnout. He'll get over it if somebody shoot at him. Send him on out there. He's like, bro, what the like?
Yeah,
he
looks so it like new recruit burnout, and it's like, dude, like my man is clearly mentally affected. Like you all need to do something. Like, you can't just
do something.
Don't just send somebody like that out to into the battlefield.
Well, I think that's just a sign of like how war over time not only takes war over time, just kind of takes away your humanity.
Yeah.
And it takes away your ability to see others as human. Everyone sees Amuro as a weapon, and eventually that's how he comes to define himself. And it's really sad and it's tragic, and there's a reason why you don't see Amuro as like a main protagonist in the sequel Zeta Gundam or Double Zeta Gundam. Like he's around, but he's like a supporting character at best. And like when he finally picks up the sword one more time in Char's counterattack, everybody knows how that goes. I'm not gonna spoil it for those who don't. You also get to see that in war, there isn't always, in fact, there's almost never a good side and a bad side that's clearly defined. Like, while Amuro and White Base are decent, the Federation is cold-blooded. They got no problem sending children into battle. Like, they don't care. They was like, hey, man, you're doing about as well as, like, our own soldiers and shit. Go back out there. Go back out there. Figure it out. It deepens Zeon territory at that. Like, later in the film, and then, like, the Earth's forces, they just trash. Like, later in the film, Amuro finds, like, Earth Federation forces, and they abusing the very people they supposed to be liberating. Oh, that sounds familiar. The Zeon aren't any better. They have no regard for the lives of people. Like, they supposedly fighting for the sake of the colonies and shit like that. But then they attack Side 7. They blowing up hella lot. They killing hella people. They ain't give a damn. Like, there really aren't, just like in real life, there really aren't any good armies or good nations, just good people. You don't get a lot of them here, but there's Ramba Ral at the end of the film, who's like an honest, decent man who just happens to be a part of the Zeon forces. And I don't know, like all this stuff, it's just, I love this movie. Even Char and his duplicitous nature, like there's a lot that they don't delve into in this movie in terms of like why he goes as so far as to kill Garma and stuff like that you will see, that you'd see if you looked up like other Gundam material, like Gundam the Origin. It's a really good reasoning. It just still shows you just like this man, he got one goal and he don't care who he got to hurt to reach his goal. And I don't know, like all around, I just love this movie, and it reminds me of everything I love about the Gundam universe. Will, what did you think of the movie?
Well, I had another name for the movie as I watched it, because I watched it early when I was working, like in between my little tasks. I was just like watch for like a few minutes and be like, man, it's a lot of pimp hand being handed out here all throughout this movie. And I wanted to call it Mobile Suit Pimp Hand because they were slapping people left and right for every single little tiny thing that could be wrong, such as him not wanting to get in a robot. Him wanting to get in a robot.
My father never slapped me. That's why he raised a bitch.
Exactly. He said that. He's like, not even my dad hit me. Well, he raised a hoe.
You know, out of all the slaps, that's the one that I at least give credit to, because he kind of did need to be kind of brought back to reality. But it felt like a lot of the other ones, just like they were just slapping folks just because they could.
It was. I think it was slaps for the drama. That's what it was. It was to get people kind of invested. Like, dang, he just smacked her because he wanted to marry this dude that died. So yeah, I think it's an all right movie. I might have to sit back with it again, and just like you said, you can kind of see that it is a product of its time, because there were a lot of times where I would like see things and I'm just like, ooh, I can see the 80s. So you know what I'm saying? It's like right in your face. You see it, like you see spots where it's not as defined as you think it should be, because you just like movie, you know, better budget, better production, but you just kind of like, you realize it's more of a compilation thing. You get it now. So I like it. It'll have to get a second watch for me to really kind of like take it fully in, because I'm like, there was some little bits I missed because I had my face in the computer screen for keyboard doing my work and whatnot. But I enjoyed, if I had to really give it a true solid score though, maybe about a 7.5. And it's a solid watch. It'll be something I think that if you are a fan of Gundam, I would definitely say watch it. If you aren't a fan, I say this is kind of where you can get your little type of a stick your toes in the water. Some like start here if you need to do something. There is also the Origin, but I'm not going to talk about that because I did not watch that. So
the Origin, you know, explains Char's origin and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's set prior to like years before the 1 Year War. This is, to me, the best way to get involved in the Gundam universe, especially if you're going to get invested in like the Universal Century, which is like the so-called, the quote-unquote main timeline. Like when you watch this movie and then the other two, you kind of understand like the core conflict. You know who the Federation are, you know who the Zeon are, you know Amuro, you know Char. Char's technically more important than Amuro for reasons that become clear the more you watch get invested in the universe. But yeah, like this is definitely the way you get invested, I think.
Oh yeah. Also, I got one more thing to say. Shout outs to that rookie at the beginning of the movie. If Shark can do it, I can. You're not him.
Gene?
Yes, brother Gene. Sit up there and said, "I seen Shark do it. I can do it." You're not him.
Man, the deaths in this show are fucking graphic too, because there's that one part where the dude was about to burn up on re-entry, and Shark get on board. He's like, "Hey man, what about our partner?" And it was like, "Man, ain't nothing we can do for him." And he was like, "Bro, please help, Shark, please help me." It's like, man,
it's out of my
took
hands.
too long, bro. What you want to say? Like, I was like, my God. So you got a 7.5. Terrence gave it a 6. Rakeem, what did you think of the movie, and what would you give it?
So we actually watched this movie together, and it was kind of cool because I got to ask you a few questions for like some minor stuff to kind of get more context of the world. But I actually had a really good time watching this. I do agree with Terrence. This doesn't feel like a traditional animated film. It feels like a condensed animated show. But why I disagree with Terrence is that I didn't feel like it dragged quite as much early. The reason being
because when we watched the movie, Rakeem specifically was like, "Nah, this movie fast paced as hell," because it just always felt like something was happening. People was always getting shot, blown up. It was always some bullshit going on. So I was kind of shocked when you said it was slow.
That's why I said I kind of didn't want to be the first one to say it, because if I said it in the wrong way, I felt like it would set the tone weirdly.
Yeah.
But I'll let you.
But I understand I kind of understand where you're coming from. Like, it was a lot of action in the beginning, but not a lot of context for the characters and development early on, except for Amuro, obviously. What I liked about this movie specifically was that it really, really breaks down to really two things. And it's more than like, it's more about war is more than just death and destruction. You lose something else as a part of it. And I think really watching this, what got me in the very beginning was the death of all those townspeople on that colony, and Amuro and Frall, as a part of that colony, kind of turning into the new leadership over these now newly formed orphans. And that theme kind of goes throughout the movie. People in places they weren't supposed to be, in circumstances they weren't supposed to be in. Bright Noah now commanding this group because the previous captain was out of commission with an injury, and him having to step up to leadership. Amuro as the pilot of the Gundam, something he probably never was going to touch ahead of time, even though his father technically made it, but this main character syndrome, you get in the mech, you the pilot now. That's pretty much what they say. You in there, you piloted it now.
You did a good enough job.
Yeah, pretty much. And one scene early on, I really liked was when Frall went back to the area where the damage happened. She looked at her neighborhood. She saw the ghosts of the children when they were children, her and Amuro playing. And she like almost cried because that was basically like, your childhood is over. That was like that scene. Childhood for you is over. Same thing for Amuro. Childhood for you is over. And you got to see that rough transition in life when you, as a person who was in a circumstance that you didn't deserve to be in, have to face the fact that everything you knew before is gone. Another great moment of that in this movie was when he went back to find his mother on Earth. And then the transition there, like finding his mother and then him having to attack and kill a soldier in front of her. This movie is very graphic. This movie is like really, really graphic. Like, it's not like, Berserk, like gory,
it's
but
not
like
gory, yeah.
It's not
but
gory,
it's serious. This is not a cartoony, happy-go-lucky, traditional anime you might watch today. This is really, really like grounded, serious stuff. And just his mother seeing him in the way that she didn't envision him. She still remembers him as a little child that left to go to space, but all she saw was her baby. Seeing him become like a tool of war, so to speak. And like that transition was pretty moving for me. And I think what really set it off was when he had to leave and he gave her the salute and let her know, like, I'm in the military now. Like, I'm a soldier now. That kid you knew was gone. And I really liked Amuro. He grew on me early, even though he was kind of, he was complaining and stuff, but it was understandable because this boy was traumatized immediately. Every time he got in the Gundam, just like you said, Terrence, earlier, like no one understood No one could understand what he was going through. Not his friend Frau, not the people on the ship. Him getting in that Gundam and having to kill people when he was not, trained to do so, never experienced those type of things, had to give up his childhood. All those sudden changes back to back to back. It broke him, and it was very vivid. And no one was there to protect him and tell him everything was going to be okay. They said you had to suck it up and get out there. And that's kind of why I liked about it, because it made war look real. Like, war is not a situation where everything's going to be heroic and cool and dramatized. Like, this is kind of how war actually is. Like, sometimes you're going to be in a situation where like it's either you or the enemy. And all those questions, all those doubts, all that pain you're feeling, all that trauma you're going through, we don't care right now. We'll deal with that after the war is over. If we deal with it at all, probably not. That aspect of Amuro I really liked. And early in the movie, I felt like it was going at a fast pace. Like, I think in 30 minutes, he fought Char 3 different times. And that was really jarring for me. So if I had a criticism of this movie, it was like, because it was clearly going off the episodes, it just never felt like an arc ended. It felt like an arc was like extended. Like, he would like go fight. They'd have like a rest period. He'd fight again. And it was clearly supposed to be multiple days in between these fights, or weeks or whatever. It felt like it was one day at certain moments. Like, it felt like all this was happening in one day. It just had back to back to back. He was getting attacked. So that was one thing I did have to complain about. The distortion of time kind of was all over the place because of how it was cut and structured. So you didn't really know how much time was really being spent on certain parts of the movie. It just felt like one elongated phase of them trying to escape and go from one place to another. I love the fact that the Federation, every time they asked them for help, the Federation was like,
they couldn't even
we can't
innocent people off the ship.
How about y'all go to this other place and check that out? Okay, we'll go there. Y'all help us out. Go a little further. No, we ain't got it. And they finally get, y'all gonna help us now? Yeah, but y'all so unprofessional.
So wild.
The Federation was horrible. And then, like, I remember when Amuro went back to his hometown, his original house, and the soldiers were in there. Federation soldiers in there, drunk all the alcohol, cussed him out, were attacking him and stuff. Like, even though he's the hero, he's not the hero. Like, that's kind of part of it too. Like, there's no dramatization of him being like the resounding hero that saves everybody. There's no appreciation for Amuro in this. He's a tool, and they use him like a tool. They treat him like a tool. I think that's aspects of this movie I like, because it just feels like a more realistic version of how war will actually be, even though it's still dramatized with giant mechs and sci-fi and all that. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I honestly give it probably like an 8 out of 10. I like the movie a lot. I do feel like it does have some pacing issues with, like, I don't know exactly what's going on at certain times and what's delineated, but I didn't feel like it dragged too much. In some aspects, I feel like it was going super fast. I feel like things were going kind of like quick, because Amuro never got, like, he would go somewhere, go on the bed, and for like 10 minutes later, we were like shoving his shoulder, like, hey man, get up. Like, it felt like that was happening a lot in this movie. Get up, get out that bed, come on. But yeah, I'll give it about 8. What you about to say, Sage?
No, go ahead. It sounds like you about to wrap up.
Yeah, I was say I'll give it about an 8 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I do enjoy the fact that it doesn't sugarcoat war. I like the fact that the characters are all in situations that are high intensity, high stress. They don't know how to do everything, but they got to figure it out anyway. And sometimes in life, becoming an adult and things like that, when you get a new job or in a new situation, you become a parent or something like that. That's how life is. You're not going to have everything figured out when you get it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I will say, in some ways, and I do agree with the far as like there's a lack of downtime to like make things, to give a sense of like, all right, we not fighting every second of the day. But I also kind of like it because it shows like how Amuro feels. Just like,
yeah,
I'm sure to him, even the downtime doesn't feel like that much downtime. He's probably just dissociating and like not even thinking about like, okay, yeah, I've got some hours off. Like, no, it's just, I'm back out in the suit again. Like, all I know is the suit. And one thing I will say, and I agree with you, is like war really isn't glorified much here. Like, Amuro wins a lot, but Amuro never looks cool. There's never a point where he just looks like this badass. Like, you never see that shit. It's always just like, hey, I survived by the skin of my teeth. And, hopefully tomorrow I can do the same thing. And I thought that was really cool. Devin, what did you think of the film, and what would you give it?
It's a pretty interesting movie. I think the first thing that I thought about, and after seeing the date in which this was made, I thought about Macross when we watched that.
Definitely.
And that was what 87,
83, I believe.
83. Okay, so I was my first impression was that was like the mold, but I see now this even predated that, so it's kind of like
Macross, actually, the creator of Macross was inspired by Gundam, so much so that he created his own fanzine before he even did Macross, based on Gundam. So
yeah, and it was very apparent, like even just how Amuro gets into the Gundam was very similar to Macross, with just being thrown into a Gundam. Like he had an affinity for, like, engineering and stuff. His dad was in that field as well. And it's kind of crazy because this movie made me think about so many other things, even like some games. Also, I have to say, like, I think there's a certain style that, like, these political, like, giant robot shows have, these IPs have, like, this very certain style of, like, clothing. You see it in Code Geass. They have these very, like,
the uniforms,
I guess, like military,
the regalia.
Yeah, like regalia. Macross had the same thing. So I think Gundam kind of started that style. It's very, like, apparent. Evangelion, like the whole thing about being the mech. Like, there was a lot of things in this movie that made me think about other stuff. Metal Gear Solid. He said, like, I remember he said at least 2 times, "This is war," and it was just like a weird, because he said the line, but it's like they panning on his face. He's just like, "This is war." And it made me think about Solid Snake when he was like, "War has changed." Like, man, this, because he said the first time, he said again, like, "This is war." Like, he almost was a little more colder with it because he had been through more at that time when he said it the second time.
Yeah.
That first scene when he got in that car kind of reminded me of Speed Racer, because again, this is like closer to that time frame. The animation is kind of similar. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's like that basis, that foundational formula for, like, these political shows out in space. Like I said, it's pretty solid watch. I do actually, Rakeem just actually made it the most clear of how I wanted to, like, say it. And Terrence mentioned it earlier about the pacing. It was like stuff was kind of all over the place at first. The movie starts in fall, which is, she has such a weird name. I could never get used to her name.
Frau.
That's it. Okay, Frau. She ran to the house, and I'm thinking, like, oh, it's just like a regular town. She's just getting off from school or something. She's like, "Come on, we got to go to we can evacuate." I'm like, what? He's sitting there like, okay. I'm like, bro, she just said you got to evacuate. He's just like, oh, I get it. Like, bro, come on, like. So that was like,
he in his drawers.
Yeah. So I do agree with Terrence and Rakeem. He kind of like broke it down. Like, I was like, okay, it's a lot going on. Oh, we in a bunker now. Oh, there's people in here. Hey, man, don't go out. I'm gonna go out, man. I'm gonna leave the door open, then we're gonna get blown up. Like, what the?
Bro.
It's so much going on, man.
So much plot armor too.
Oh yeah,
bro.
Oh man. Early on, like later on, the plot armor isn't as bad. Like, as far as like White Base and Gundam, like, they explicitly let you know these are experimental suits. They're better designed. They're more durable. Like, that was why the Zeon were so, adamant about destroying them, because they, like, knew that this was going to give the Federation kind of a leg up. But, like, early on, some of them characters definitely should have died, and they just didn't, because, like, plot armor.
And I agree with Terrence as well. Like, them Zeons was made out of one-ply toilet tissue. Like, the Gundam, they even mentioned, like, man, what is it made out of, man? And the first thing I thought about was Transformers Optimus Prime, just saying, I thought you were made of sterner stuff. That's the first thing I thought about, because I'm like, everybody was just, he sliced the dude that the Gundam Gene was in, like it was just putty. And of course, it's a light beam, basically a giant lightsaber, so it makes sense. But still, this is like, there's a lot of egos too, because Gene was the first guy. Oh, I'm going for him, and the guy was like, "Man, hold on, man, stay back." Nah, man, I'm going to get him, man.
Gene caused all of that. He caused everything.
That was his fault.
And then what was his name? Hayato, I think was his dude. He did it later on. He's like, "No, I'm gonna show up armor room." Like, bro, chill out. He got there, man. I'm scared, man. Please help me. I'm like, you wanted this. He was like, I ain't gonna. I'm like, bro, you said I ain't gonna let him show me up, and you get out here, you like, man, I'm scared, man. Like, what's going on, man?
War.
War.
They had a scene. Anybody's played Final Fantasy VIII. If I didn't know any better, I think we'll already know what I'm talking about. There's a scene in Final Fantasy VIII where they have this ball dance with the sea soldiers, and I promise that scene is almost verbatim. I feel like Final Fantasy VIII took inspiration from that. Even the scene out on the balcony where like Renault and Squall kiss, I'm like,
that is true.
Huh?
Very similar.
Very interesting. And of course, Char. I mean, you can just look at him. You can look at him and tell you couldn't trust him. Come on, man. What that outfit on?
I'm saying, bro.
With the
girl was like, take your helmet off. He take it off. Well, I got a secondary helmet. I'm like, Akash is like, what? All right, but he actually took it off. But I'm like, you can just look at this dude. He kind of gave me Griffith vibe. He's like, he kind of plays this is my friend. We went to military school or whatever, man. Yeah, it's been great. It's nice to see you, man. I'm so glad to be back with you, man. Garma was giving all these, man, you're worth 100 million. He's like, yeah, I am. I got something in store for you though, man. And then I think the line of the movie for me, that man said, man, I hate to send my men off into danger, and I know of it, but it is what it is. I was like, this man, hey, bro. I'm like, all right. So this, it's just like that little twinkle. I was like, this man is, boy. His folks will hurt. His father will hurt. I'm like, man, this man is, boy. And then he basically make it seem like he turned around. So we gonna make it think that they did it instead of us. And I'm like, this man dirty. This man dirty.
There's a reason.
Char is your op before you know he your op.
Facts.
Mind you, Garm consider probably his best friend.
Yeah. And like I said, he told you, man, you worth 100 million. He's like, well, you won't be around to see the rest of me, so it don't matter. Rakeem mentioned the moment about him reuniting with his mother. Like when he went back in his town, those guys was in his house acting the fool. They were drunk, torn up. He was like, hey, run hands right now. Two of them went outside. He ran hands with them. Found his mom again. I was like, you know what? There's a lot of grim stuff going on. People getting killed. This is like the one heartfelt moment of the show. And then they ended very quickly because when he was in the bed, I thought he got shot. But then he had the tool under the sheet.
Yeah.
And he got up busting like Clint Eastwood. I was like, this man.
The man mama was horrified, bro.
He got up like
he raised you to kill people. I was like, you ain't raised him at all. You left him.
Bruh. Exactly.
That man got scared to go into space.
That she did say that. Well, which I guess is like, because this is kind of differs from Macross, because Macross, like, the world was like uninhabitable to a certain degree, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
It was, but the reason it was uninhabitable is because the Zentradi blew it up.
Yeah,
like it was regular Earth, and then like the Macross had to leave because like Earth got under attack, and then after they left, the Zentradi just blew up the rest of it.
Yeah. So in this, Earth is still there, and he made a comment about, he's like, if anybody has a house on Earth still, they're like well off or something. I think that was like a little bit halfway through the movie. He made that comment. But yeah, like just seeing that was kind of like, dang, like it really is wars like this. And they even mentioned like there's like, well, all the, I guess, regular age, middle-aged adults are gone. So it's like, well, everybody's left to fight is really like kids and elderly. I'm like, dang. Like
a lot of people died in the 1 year war. Like they don't say it, but I mean they do kind of imply it with how bloody the opening like 10 minutes.
You can watch it.
Yeah, you can see it. They don't have to tell you, but like a lot of people died during the 1 year war.
Yeah, so I guess it was an interesting watch for me. I mean, there was a lot of like when it later on, like the fights were a lot better, like especially like versus Char. Of course, he was like, hey man, I ain't none of the other little scrubs you can fight when I'm
my suit painted red.
Is that I was gonna say, when they got the different colors, it's just like the old school games. You got the little gray dudes, and you find somebody he purple or blue. All right, man, better watch out. I will mention one thing that I've seen in these older movies, and it's just a product of that time, but it's always interesting. There was a scene where he's fighting Char, and these older films they like reuse shots and reuse scenes and stuff and stills. When he shoots the rocket, the launcher he has. But if you pay attention to it and you stop it, you can see like I guess something. It could have been a mistake, or maybe it's just like for saving time. The muzzle blast and the rocket didn't actually come out of the rocket. It was just like behind it. So I think it's kind of sometimes it's funny and it's a little interesting seeing like how animation has changed. And again, like I said, this is an older movie. This is 81, so kind of have to give it a little bit of grace. But so it's just kind of interesting seeing those things. Then they reuse the shot again. It's like, yeah, I thought y'all would have fixed it the second time show, but they're like, no, we just gonna show it again. It didn't look right. It didn't make sense, but nobody, it's so fast, you're not gonna catch it. I think I would say if I had to give this a score, it was a pretty decent watch. I'll say. I'll probably give it a 7.5. I would say a 7, but I'm gonna give it an extra 0.5 for all the slaps. It was like I think I counted 5 slaps in the movie. So for each slap, I'm gonna give it a 0.1. Yeah. I might have to give it a little more because them slaps that Bright get, he literally left a mark on his face.
He did.
And then he slapped him again on the other side. So I'm like,
backhanded him. I said, "Oh God!"
We forgot to tell the audience that half this movie was just slap boxing.
I promise you.
Actually,
now,
I was surprised at how much hands was in this movie, and I ain't talking about the slaps. I'm talking about at one point, Char and Amuro was just punching people in the mix.
Yep.
I was like, what's going on? Like he like punched the Gundam in the kidney or some shit. Like, I don't think that's going
on. Yeah. I remember seeing it. It was like the Dragon Ball, like they zoom in on the fist. He's like, oh, I'm like, dang, robot. Like, you didn't really feel that though.
It makes sense because it's like your weapons wouldn't last as long as they have in like later Gundams where they make the beam rifles like last forever. Whereas like this time around, it's like, after a couple shots, you would be out. So it makes sense.
Yeah. That's true. They even showed him like I think he had either ran out of ammo or lost the gun. They had to like give him another beam rifle.
He used up all the bullets or all the energy in that one, and they was like, "Send him another one." And he caught it in midair. I'm like, "Oh, all right. I guess you just like that, Amuro."
I would have gave it an 8, another 0.5 if somebody had to slap somebody in the Gundam. Like the Gundam would have just did like this and slapped another person in the Gundam. Would have gotten another 0.5 from me for that.
That's fair. That's fair. Let me ask you this. We start the next wave of questions, I guess. Did this make you want to check out the other 2 films to see where the plot goes?
Yeah. I mean, since this is like a collection of things that I'm pretty sure like to get the full spectrum of what's going on here, you kind of have to watch the rest to see what's going on and see how things pan out. Because to believe it or not, Gundam is one of those series that I didn't watch as much as other people when I was younger. And a good bit of that is because when I was younger, I didn't have that channel to watch it. I had to go over to cousins' houses and stuff like that. But I've always been a fan of like robots and like giant mechs and stuff. I just think it looks cool. And I'm without a doubt, I'm certain that Power Rangers was the thing that started at seeing the Zords and stuff like that. So anytime I saw anything similar to that, I was like, this is pretty cool. And then seeing the origin of it, because I mean, Gundam has changed quite a bit, just like in animation and just like it's over the top. These mechs look like Zone of the Ender style mechs now. It ain't no run of the mill, just them regular old school Transformers, Optimus Prime looking now. They look crazy now. So just to see that like transformation from where it started to now, I definitely would like to see how the rest of this pans out. And if they got some more slapping in the rest of the movie, I might have to
I mean, the Bright slap did not come from just one movie alone, bro. Like that meme is legendary for a reason. It's in all of anything where Bright Noah is in. He's smacking somebody.
Hey, Bright might have a future in the power slap circuit, man.
I swear, bro, he might.
Hey,
right
real talk, man.
Terrence, man, you had I think the lowest opinion, but I mean I understood where you were coming from. But do you think that your opinion might change if you saw the other 2 films? Are you interested in checking those out?
Yeah, I mean, just to, I guess, give some more background because maybe my score seems a little silly in comparison to everyone else's.
No. It's not silly at all. You felt how you felt, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, still, I'm still gonna like give some reason why because, like I said, it is different from everybody else. So, in terms of the pacing, I'll say that maybe slow isn't the right word. It does feel like kind of, the way you put it, Rakeem, makes sense. Is that it feels like there's really no break in between like them going from one thing to another. And as a result, it's not like I guess when I say slow is that because it feels like there is no downtime. It all just kind of like just runs together. And it's just, it does feel like just one long day. Like the way you put it, it does make sense. It's like, it does feel like one long day. Whereas, this is technically 13 episodes. And so there would be that break in between to show like, okay, maybe there's like a day in between, a week in between, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas with the movie, it's like we're just running on in full force.
Cut all that downtime out.
Yeah, and I do think that when they get to Earth, I do feel like at that point, that's when like the political stuff and like the pacing of it starts to fall in line a bit better, just in my opinion. Whereas just in like the first half of a movie, like the first hour, maybe like hour 10, whatever, it just feels like it kind of like runs all together, and that's where it's like the pacing feels kind of off for me.
I can totally understand that.
Yeah, but in terms of the other films, I am interested. I mean, we started this, so I mean, might as well see it through. And yeah, I mean, I like the second half of this movie, so I'm pretty sure the other movies will pick up in that fashion, just because after what happens with Char, his deception, I'm interested to see how that plot line goes. You know, how Amuro is slowly like degrading, and like his mental state is degrading, and like you said, he's eventually going to just fall into that tool mindset. That'll be interesting to see. It's just so much that was set up in the first half started to click more in the second half, and that's when I started to become more interested. That's just why that first half of the movie just didn't feel as strong just to me. But yeah, I'd be interested in seeing the other two movies just to see how everything unfolds. And I mean, at that point, I could say I've watched the original Gundam, so it'll be one off the bucket list. So yeah, I'd be interested in seeing the other two just to see how it goes, just because it's just two other movies, right?
Yeah, Soldiers of Sorrow and Encounters in Space. That's just the other two. Wrap the whole thing up.
Yeah, so no, I wouldn't mind watching those other two.
Okay. By the way, I mean, like I was just I'm always interested to see other people's opinions. I kind of thought mine was on the high end, but I mean, like I already knew going in, like, okay, I'm a big Gundam fan. I kind of expected to like it. When other people have different opinions, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that kind of makes the show, to be honest with you. Will, what do you think, man? Do you want to finish the other two films?
I'm interested in it, no doubt about it, because I mean, I feel like it's more or less saying, why not? Let's see how everything kind of closes out, or how everything ties up. Let's see how Amuro just kind of goes about how he kind of acts throughout the whole thing. Let's see about him and the rest of the crew that's around him, from Bright, Frau, and the rest of them. I want to see how they operate along the way. How do things affect them? How do they go about overcoming said things if they do get a chance to overcome them? If someone ends up meeting their demise or something like that, I want to see about how that goes. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna see quite a few cut short lives. So I'm sure that's gonna be a thing.
The director Yoshiyuki Tomino has a nickname. Kill 'em all, Tomino.
Oh, that's all right then. Okay,
so that should let you know how they set the stories up. So
yeah, but I am gonna make it my business to check them out. I'll probably go back and click through and watch those. That'll be something for me to do, and I'm not looking at anything that I'm currently watching. So when I'm not doing that, I'll hop on those.
All right. Rakeem, what about you, man? Where do you stand? You want to finish the other two out?
Oh yeah, go ahead and inject those war crimes into my veins, man. Inject that
Dear
depression
God.
And that war and that pain in my veins. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I'm very interested in seeing the continuation of this, because I've kind of got grown on Amuro, his degradation, kind of trying to see like how he overcomes that. I am the son of a Vietnam veteran, so like learning about as a kid, like from my dad, like things that he'd see in war and stuff like that, was always really interesting to me. So I always kind of see like people who are involved in something that is very traumatizing and very intense and overcome it. How are they able to like bounce back from that? I think like obviously Amuro is on a downward spiral path right now, because the people around him, they don't have the time to see his issues, and they're not trying to see his issues. They're just trying to get him to do his job that he has at the moment. And I kind of want to see like how far that takes Amuro down the dark path, and how he kind of at least tries to bounce back from it, because otherwise he'd just be dead. So I'm interested in that. And actually another part of this movie, which I don't think we talked about that much, I think the movie, as far as the Zeon, got way more interesting when it got to the part with Char and what's the other guy's name? Garma. See, I'm terrible with names. When Garma passed away, you got to see the Zeon like royal family and like how they reacted to his death. Because a lot of times you see like villains in movies, they'll be like, "Oh, he was weak. He was trash." They did not react like that. That man's father and his brother took it really freaking hard. His dad took it extremely hard. To the point where like this man's like the dictator of a country, and his daughter come in like, "Hey man, you gotta get out there and run this country." Like I know you're depressed and sad that your son died. He took it extremely hard. It was very cute. It was a very, you don't get to see humanizing of villains like that all the time. So it actually kind of makes me like, I wonder what other elements of Zeon we'll get to see deeper into about like how their kind of system works. Because obviously they're in a dictatorship. People hail Zeon. It's basically like space Nazis. So these are the villains. These are clearly the villains. Like there's no delineation there, but like
they say Sig Zeon, so I mean
Sig Zeon,
yes sir.
But Garma, as a character, didn't seem that bad, and like how he interacted.
Yeah.
He had a wife, he had a fiance he was going to marry. That did not work out for either one of them very well.
And that was essentially was the trope in Macross. The was it the pineapple cake?
Pineapple salad.
Yeah,
yes,
the
sir.
pineapple. Yeah, that he pretty much pulled that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go marry my. As soon as I get this big victory, I'm gonna impress my sister. And
What I
I'm
say,
gonna go ahead
Sage?
and marry my girl.
What did I say,
Right
Sage?
back.
Rakeem definitely was like, man, I'm seeing a death flag like right now, and I'm like,
Them death flags was flying high, baby.
and I was trying not
like-
to say anything. I'm like, I don't want to spoil it because like the way that he died is just such an interesting way. You think that he would have died just in a straight up fight with Amuro, but that's very much not what happened.
Yeah, and you know what? And I have seen some of the original series, and like I remember a little bit of it. But like going into this, if you didn't know anything about this and just Char betraying him, that would have been a huge shock. Because like, why is he betraying one of his best friends? Like, dude took a shower in his room, and they talked about school, growing up together. Dude shared his most intimate moments about getting out of the military and like marrying his love of his life. And Char did not give a damn. He said, "You were born with the wrong last name."
Yeah.
That was a cold line. Woo, boy, that was cold.
The shock that you had, by the way, is why I don't recommend, and this is for everybody watching, I don't recommend you start with Mobile Suit Gundam: The Origin. I know it's technically the first thing. It's like the earliest point of the UC timeline, and I know it's got better animation and all that stuff, and that just kind of pulls you in. But like when you know Char's story going in, it kind of spoils some of the stuff that's supposed to be a surprise later on. You don't want that. You want to come in there and be shocked. It's kind of like almost like Luke, I Am Your Father. It's like watching the prequels before you watch the original trilogy. Like you don't want to do that. Watch it in release order, and in that way, you learn the stuff as you're supposed to learn it.
Right. But yeah, I'm actually very interested in seeing like how the crew learns to work together better, how Amuro develops, and the Zeon. I'm actually very interested in Zeon after the whole Garma situation. That plot was actually very, very interesting. And like how Char ties into that, how he's kind of being a double agent on the inside to a degree, it seems.
Char in the second movie falls off, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Not like in a bad way, but just like his importance is toned down for a little while, and Amuro starts fighting like other parts of Zeon. So you do get to see like more of the Zeon forces, and it's not just like Char versus Amuro for the all three films. Like they tone it, they like, all right, look, Char got some other shit to do. First off, even if you didn't know that he was guilty, like he let a royal member of the family die. Like, all right, let's get him out of there for a little bit, and then you see like some other stuff happen in the middle.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm very interested in seeing how that develops. I think the Zeon are kind of interesting. I want to learn more about them and see how this all ties together and how it leads into the other areas of Gundam.
One thing I will say before we close out, I had forgotten about it, but man, Devin brought up a good point, man. Those other pilots were fucking worthless, man. Everybody wanted to prove they was better than Amuro or that they could be just as good as Amuro. They hopping into the gun tank and the gun cannon, and all they was good for is suppressing fire. Like, they couldn't get nothing done. They couldn't take nobody out. Amuro, they just like, if we don't have Amuro, we can't do nothing. Please send Amuro out here. Like, bro, this man Amuro don't even know where he at right now. Like, what do you mean send Amuro out here? Like, what is he going to do for you?
It was oddly, what happened to Amuro was oddly similar to when we watched Perfect Blue. with the girl, like when life and stuff was like blending together. And that's kind of how the pacing, although like you kind of mentioned this, the pacing was like not perfect, but it was so stress inducing. Like you kind of understood why Amuro was so upset, because like he didn't get a break in this movie. Like it just kept happening over and over and over and over again.
Right.
But yeah.
And it's, I'm gonna say it's funny you mentioned that, because it felt like the one time he did get a break was when he met up with his mom again, and it let him kind of come down a little taste. Like he was just like, "This is my mother. I'm here with her, and she's doing her best to protect me right now. But if it go left,
that's a whole episode.
Right.
That's a whole episode in like the actual show. You get to see they get to stretch that moment a little bit more. I did while we were watching it, because it's been so long since I've seen like the full Gundam series. I had to look it up. So minor spoilers, like he never sees his mother again.
That's crazy.
Ever. Like after that, he I looked it up on Wikipedia or like the Gundam fandom wiki, and he was just like, he sends a letter to his mom after the war, and that's it. Like his tie to his mom is over with, which I kind of understand, because his mom was kind of looking down on him, because she like, how could you? I didn't raise no murderer. To which again I say, you didn't raise nobody. Like you let him go into space, and then you said, I'm scared of space, which is not an option when you a parent. Like you don't get just be like, I'm scared, I can't go where you going. Like, all right, well, you either got to make him stay or you got to go up there. Like that's them the options. But she was like, no, I'm gonna stay down here, and she didn't see him for 12 years. I don't know how old Amuro was supposed to be when his dad.
I think it was about 4. Jesus. I think it was about 4 or 5, somewhere in that area.
Amuro was like 15, so like that's 10 years that you just let your child be somewhere else. Like no wonder all he sent was a letter. I'm gonna just put it like that. That's crazy,
bro. Also, I forgot another, like, probably might be the other best line in the movie. When Bright was like, they was like, we need all the help we can get. He's like, that's why I'm sending all these kids out to battle. And then that man Hayato came on the screen and was like, hey man, we just gonna shoot from the bottom, man. We don't get no pensions from dying, man. I was like,
man, that man was so real.
That was too real.
I was like, this man.
It's like, you're right.
And then he went out there and just got scared. I mean, I guess.
Help.
Yeah,
I thought that was hilarious.
So much of the movie. Then. Help, please, somebody help us. Where's Amuro?
I feel like they were like the Biggs and Wedge of this universe.
Somewhat.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I get it.
You're not wrong. They just not that. They should have been more than what they were. Not just like from a criticism perspective, but just like as people. Like, wouldn't you want to try harder? But apparently, they was like, no, we not supposed to be here in the first place. So no, we don't want to try no harder. Fuck y'all. But I think that's going to wrap up this week's episode. If you liked it, I need a few things from you. I need you to do us a favor. Hit that subscription button on YouTube. Hit that notification bell while you at it. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on TikTok. Tell everybody you know. And do me a personal favor. Have an excellent week. Peace.